Board game, believe it or not.
Welcome to another edition of Board Game, Believe It or Not, where we've made a few changes in the way this is run, where I'm going to host Board Game, Believe It or Not. I'm going to come up with all of the Believe It or Nots, and my fellow hosts are going to say whether they believe it or not. And if I fool them, if I fool two of them, I get a point. If they get it right, they get a point. So really, they have the advantage of me on this one, but I didn't trust any of them to do Believe It or Nots anymore. Daniel, did you have a question?
I was going to ask why I couldn't do it anymore.
That's why.
But you just answered
Daniel
it.
thought it was two truths and a lie. Andy thought it was geography, believe it or not.
Two lies and a truth.
And Chris thought it was minute detail, believe it or not. So we're not doing that. We're doing, all these are board games. I'm going to say a board game, the year it came out, a brief description, and it's up to you guys to decide if I made that up or if this was a real game. All right, is everybody ready? We're going to start with, we'll start around the board. We'll start with different people, different times. We'll start with Chris this time. Chris, are you ready, buddy?
I am ready.
All right.
Ready to win.
How about this one? Missionary Impossible. Came out in 1996. Be the first to overcome all your trials and complete 100 weeks of missionary service. The play is Milliborn style as the cards represent weeks of service. You can put trial cards on your opponents to disrupt them. So you're a missionary in the mission field. Get the Missionary Impossible, get the thing there. Chris, what do you think? Is this a real game? Believe it or not?
This one's a good one because, I mean, the date matches up with Mission Impossible. Our Christian brethren make some really atrocious games, especially in the 90s.
Shocked you would say such a thing.
I'm going to say it's real.
You're going to say it's real? You believe it?
I believe it.
Chris is a believer.
I believe!
He's a believer. Daniel, what say you, buddy? I mean, Andy, what say you?
I think I'm on board too. I think it's actually a Mormon game.
A Mormon game.
Ooh, okay.
Didn't we say something about 2 years? Was the mission 2 years?
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Is that what you
Okay.
said, John?
I said 100 weeks.
No.
Well, that's like 2 years,
Yeah,
right?
approximately 2 years, sure.
Yeah,
You
sure.
get a 2-week vacation each year.
Um,
Daniel, what about you, buddy?
So, yeah, I'm glad this is about Christian missions because when this first started, I thought this was going to turn rated R. So I appreciate that it went the direction it did.
We got that coming up
so-
later.
I'm gonna say, yeah, Chris was right. Christians can make some really bad board games, though. We've seen the light at the end of that tunnel. We've seen some really good ones come out recently, like Wisdom of Solomon and Deliverance, which is like a dungeon crawl. But yeah, from the 90s, yeah, it's I believe it. It sounds like a bad Christian game.
Wow, everybody believes it. Believe it or not, it's true. Yep.
Hey!
Good job, guys. You guys grand slam me on that one. Very good.
See, I thought
right.
about going false just to like play the game a little bit.
Sure.
I gotcha.
But John said that he didn't want
Have
me
a
to do
reason.
that.
Have a reason to, yes. I'd rather hear your truth. All right. We'll start with Andy on this one as we go around the board. Andy, this game is called In Love, and it came out in 2007. And this is the game people thought maybe Daniel was referring to when he was talking about how people should invite over some couples for, start your own game group. And people were getting the wrong idea. What do they want? Why do they want couples to come over? I think this is the game they had in mind. It's called In Love, where you ask questions, talk about yourself and your relationship. Answer questions in different categories like relationship, knowledge, and sensuality. Basically,
What year did
it
this
sounds
come out?
like 2007. You can't be looking this up, Andy.
I'm not looking anything up.
Sounds like you are. Basically, it sounds to me like it's a romantic version of Cards Against Humanity. Daniel
I'm gonna
or
go
Andy, what
with-
do you think, buddy? Believe it or not?
It sounds too believable, so I'm going to go false.
Ooh, Andy's gonna go against his
Better
Yeah.
judgment.
his own
See,
better judgment.
I
Daniel,
was
what do you
heading-
say as we go around
Something
the board?
I do commonly, by the way.
Yeah.
I was heading towards false until you said it was like Cards Against Humanity. That's a seller for me because everybody's trying to make a clone for that. Not that I want to play it, but to think that it's true because everyone's trying to make a clone of that game. So yeah, throw in like love questions and sure, why not? Let's say true.
Okay, so Andy's a don't believe it. Daniel's a believe it. Chris, what do you say, buddy?
I gotta be honest, I was really distracted there for a minute because anytime that music pops on, I just immediately think of the good Dr. Reiner Knizia because that was the first time we used it, and so it always throws me off. So I'm gonna go with the thought process that Daniel has here, but I don't think it's actually they're not trying to make a clone of Cards Against Humanity in 2007. What they're doing is making a clone of the travesty that has plagued our community ever since, which is called Apples to Apples. But it does track. It does make sense. Someone's trying to get on that bandwagon, make one about love because casuals are dumb. And I'll go with yes.
Because Cards Against Humanity wasn't even out yet.
That's what I'm saying.
Sure?
And Cards Against Humanity is just an iteration on Apples to Apples.
Sure.
So yeah.
But my kids might fight you if you say it's dumb in front of them. Just
What's that?
warning
Apples
you.
to apples.
Yeah.
I mean, bring it on. Have you seen me? I'll take them.
I would like to see Daniel's kids fight, Chris.
That would be fun.
Now
I'd like to
that's
see
a
that.
skirmish game.
Yes, it would be.
That's the T-Rex.
That's the
versus
T-Rex one, yep.
Raptors.
Yes.
So we had it's a true game. It's a real game. So yep. Daniel and Chris, I almost got. Well, actually, that was my edition. Was saying that it's like Cards. Because that's what it sounded like to me. Was Cards Against Humanity only.
Oh.
So there you go.
Well, thanks a lot, Chris. You got me some points. Or I mean, John, you got me points.
Hey, you're welcome.
I got your name wrong, just like you got my name
Yes,
wrong.
very good. All right, Daniel, we'll start with you this time, buddy.
You mean Andy?
No,
Okay.
stop it. Daniel?
Well done, Daniel.
Well done. How about Doorways to Horror from 1986? Introduces you to a new era of VCR fun and excitement as you try to capture vampires, werewolves, zombies, and other menacing monsters. A roll of the dice lets you quickly color scan ahead on the videotape to your doorway of horror. Daniel, what do you think, buddy? Did Doorways to Horror really come out in 1986 as a VCR game?
So I'm gonna look foolish or I'm gonna look really wise. So we'll find out.
Okay.
I know a lot about these old games. I watch Flip the Table. Okay. It's a great old podcast, and I know all about these VCR games. I had never heard of that one. But John, you used the word color scan, and that is actual technology from that time. You literally fast forward the video until you saw the red, and then you hit stop. That was color scan technology. So because you use the word color scan, I'm gonna say it's true.
Okay. It's true. Daniel is a believer. Chris, what do you say, buddy, as we go around the board?
So, I mean, Daniel sold me on it. Again, I must admit I was distracted there for a moment because the moment you said a video horror game, immediately I went to my heart just started pounding because I was like, we're talking about Nightmare, one of my favorite games of all time. That game is awful, but man, is it great because of it. Oh man, I love that game. Played it recently. But yeah, no, the color scan thing checks out, and there's a lot of games like that back then. So I'm gonna go with yes.
Okay, so we got two believers.
I love your Nightmare,
think, buddy.
All right, well, I'm gonna go false just so I can try and gain some ground.
Wow, that was a great reason.
It's a pure abstract strategy move.
It's an abstract strategy.
Just like abstract
Hatter move.
Just like abstract strategy games that
like Croconut.
Because it was a real game. You should have believed it. So once again, woo! Chris got it right.
That's right. See,
all right.
Andy tried to play the system.
I know,
and he failed. But if he would have just played his game like Chris always says,
yes,
use your heart,
he would have won.
Yep.
That's right.
What it was. Even with his fancy clothes on, he still didn't play the game correctly.
I wasn't true to myself.
There you go.
All
right,
he's overcompensating for something with those clothes.
Might be. All right, how about this
game
one?
Wise.
How about this one, guys? Space exploration came out in 1968. NASA trying to cash in on the science craze generated by the space race. In space exploration, everyone is playing as a different country as they attempt to provide a doorway to an exciting new tomorrow through the science of space travel. The countries, all the countries, the U.S. is the only real country. Everyone else is like the Association of European Souls or something like that. So they're just fake country names. So
they have the intellectual property.
they're kind of pushing, the U.S. and the space race. So what do you guys think? Space exploration, is it real? Should you believe it or not? Chris, what do you say, buddy?
All I know is I'm using the what was it? The United
Association
Eastern
of European Souls.
Souls. Like I'm using that as an organization in some sort of role play game I use in the future. That was awesome. So I don't know. Like, the date seems too early. But oh man, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say I don't believe it.
Saying it's fake.
Yeah.
This is a non-believer.
Non-believer.
Andy, what do you say, buddy?
I'm gonna say true. It sounds very possible, very plausible.
So we got a believer in science and a non-believer in science. Where do you stand on the science, Daniel?
John, you always go one little step too far, because I was like, I'm comfortable saying it's false, and then you say, but they made up nations like the European system of souls or whatever, and then you're like, wow, that's the kind of detail you would expect in a game like this. But I'm gonna go with my initial response, because just like the moon landing, this game is false. I'm kidding.
So you're kidding about what?
Oh, thank you for
the moon
clarifying.
landing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm
well,
not
you
that
believe
crazy
that I
yet.
made that one up. So
Normally he wears a tinfoil hat, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah.
That's right.
The finest tinfoil.
So
Man,
wait,
so-
you said false?
I said false.
Bam!
So there you go. Was it Chris and Daniel again? Is Andy
Yep.
the only one I keep fooling? All right.
I'm gonna be honest. I honestly was hoping to not get that right and it be real. And if it wasn't, I'd be like, right now, you look up what those other countries' names are.
I
I
literally
must know.
that one I didn't even write that down. I just kind of came up with that on the spur. So I was like, wow, if that got it for him, that's great. All right. How about this one? We all love the ones that are based on TV shows. So how about this one called Columbo that came out in 1973?
Columbo game. Yes.
It's a whodunit game featuring Columbo, sort of. To avoid paying Peter Falk any rewards, Columbo's face is never shown. You just kind of see him from the back. Real
Okay,
selling point.
Sure.
And it looks and sounds like a ripoff of Clue. And who are we starting with now? I think it's Andy this time. Andy, what do you think? Columbo, did it really come out in 1973?
1973. Yes, it did.
Okay. The short answer is yes.
I love your explanations, Andy. I just put a lot of thought into this.
That just sounds like a good year for that
Good year.
game.
It's a good year.
Was that the year you were born?
No. Might have been the year you were born.
He was
That
in
was
high
an
school
old
then.
joke.
Daniel, what do you say? buddy?
I think the fact that they put that much effort into a game in the 70s that they try to make it even Clue and not just a Monopoly ripoff sounds very fake to me, because Clue is one step above Monopoly. So I'm going to say that this game is false because it's not Monopoly enough.
Okay. So we got to believe and a not believe. We got a tiebreaker here, Chris. What do you say, buddy?
Okay, so
Am I finally going to get a point?
I think the Columbo can't have been in the 70s. That show was way too good for the 70s. But like, is Columbo an intellectual property I didn't know about, and they were just making a story about him in the show in the 80s? Because that's a move they would done in the 80s where they're like, oh, we just won't actually use his face, so we don't have to pay the money. I'm gonna say it's not real.
You're saying fake?
Yeah, do not believe it.
It's a real game, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah! I got one.
Really? So for real, is he is that like a character from like a book series they finally made into a movie show in the 80s? Because there's no way that show
That I don't know.
70s.
But no, well, the show first came on in the 70s.
Are you serious?
Yeah, there was TV movies in the 80s, but the show started in the 70s.
That show must have been like the greatest show of all time in the 70s.
Pretty good. It's pretty good. All right, let's
And
just do
that
one
game-
more.
That game was later eclipsed by the Matlock game,
Matlock.
That
which was even better.
was a good joke. I like
Or
that.
maybe it was eclipsed by this one. Here we go. Let's do one more, and who's the turn to start with?
Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
Okay, Daniel. Here you go, buddy.
Go for it.
Are you guys fans of the Archie series?
Archie
There was
Bunker?
there was a game that came out in 1962 called Archie's Jalopy. It's a simple push your luck game where the goal is to get Archie to the dance with Veronica before his car breaks down. Everyone flips cards from the same deck on their turn. If you flip over too many mechanical issues on your turn, you have to start all over on your next turn. and other characters will come up like Mr. Weatherby and stuff like that, and Professor Flute Snoot, and they'll distract you from your goal.
Jughead.
What do you think? What do you think, Daniel? Does that sound like something plausible from 1962? Believe it or not.
Not for 1962, because that's a game I would play. I wouldn't play that game right now. So there's no way that came out in the 60s.
Daniel says no to Archie's Jalopy being a real game. What do you say, Chris?
I'm saying no also because the description was too good.
Good.
And it just, there's no way. But that does actually really does sound like pretty great. It does sound pretty fun.
So we have two non-believers. What do you think, Andy?
And although I'd love to gain some ground here by going against them, I'm going to have to agree. The mechanics just sound way too good for that year. And it does sound fun, though. I would love to know what kind of powers Jughead has and Reggie and Moose and all those guys.
Man, I've got to develop this game because I just made it up the other day. So that sounds good. Yeah, you guys all got it right. Everybody gets a point by me on that one. Cool. Well, we'll wrap that up. Wrap it up with that one because I don't want to take any more of a beating on this segment because I thought I had these good because my test audience were getting 50-50. I'm like, okay, 50-50 is about what I win. You guys smoked those things. So
was your test audience board game podcasters like us?
No, they were not the board game experts. They were people that live under my roof. So, but I thought they would know my tendencies of how I write and say things.
Sure,
so.
that makes sense. Your tells, right?
Yes. But anyway, so hey, everybody out there, what do you think? Did you like this round of board game Believe It or Not? Let us know in the comments below, or maybe if you have an oddball game you want to just share with us in the comments below, that'd be great too. So. Like what you've seen, you'd like to see the entire episode, click on the link in the comments below.